right, welcome everyone. So excited to be here with this amazing group of people as we celebrate World Hearing Day today on March 3rd. And of course, it's also the official launch day of Deaf Athletics. So excited to be celebrating. Yes, applause for sure. We've got a really exciting crew today. We're, of course, joined by Dennis Heathfield, founder and CEO of Deaf Athletic, and our very, very special guest, Marne Sullivan. Thank you so much for being on with us. We are humbled that you're with us today to talk and, launch this brand into the world. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, and I'm very excited about Deaf Athletics launch. I think it's going to be great and inspire a lot of generations of athletes, so I'm very excited for our conversation today.
Amazing. Marty, I feel like a lot of people tuning in know you, know your name, know the amazing things that you're doing out in the world and on social media. But for those who don't know, before I hand it over to you to share more about your background and your story, Marnie is a public speaker, an athlete, of course, a prolific and very successful content creator, and most importantly, an accessibility advocate, passionate about storytelling and cultivating community connection. And you do it so well. So we're really excited to be here with you and to really tap into your unique perspective and experiences as an athlete within this community, and really talking about how Deaf Athletic is bringing something really new and important to the performance wear space for athletes who identify as deaf and hard of hearing, and by the way, everyone else too who wants to get out there and enjoy athletic pursuits. So Marnie, with that, I would love to just hear more from you. I know I mentioned a bit of your resume, but can you just share a bit more about your background and kind of the journey you've taken so far to today, to right now?
Yes, of course. Well, thank you so much, Claire, for that lovely introduction. So I was born deaf. I had cochlear implant surgery when I was 3.5 years old. Then growing up, I grew up playing just about every sport you can think of: track, soccer, field hockey, lacrosse, but running was is what truly stuck with me. I come from a running background. I come from a running family. My father ran track and cross country for Georgetown, so he's influenced my love for running. And in high school is when I realized I had potential to run track in college. And I wanted to share this little story with you. So my freshman year of track, this is the high school Illinois track state championships. I made the state championships as a freshman. So, freshman Marnie, I'm super excited to be competing at the state championships, competing alongside of my teammates and everything. And so we actually made the 4x4 state final. And the entire season, I had always played third leg or anchor leg. Well, they wanted me to be the first leg for the 4x4. And I didn't think much of it, but then I realized, shoot, I'm used to looking up and being able to see the gun or see the official, but this time my head would be down, I'm looking down at the ground. So I was nervous I was not going to be able to hear the starting commands or the official, all that. So luckily, I talked to my coach about it, and we talked to the IHSA to try to get some accommodations for the track. And thankfully, the IHSA let my coach come down to the track before the race started, because normally coaches are not allowed to be on the track. It's only the officials and the people competing. So my coach was actually the person who held onto my blocks and would repeat the commands after the official. And then, the gun went off and I went on and did my race. The race went well. Luckily, we got third in the state, so it was awesome. And
Awesome.
paid off was great. But what was so funny was my mom, she was at home because she had my brother's graduation, whatever. She's watching the TV and she told me the story like a week after. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I was looking at the TV and I was like sweating, freaking out." She was with all her friends because luckily, she told me this after the race, but she was like, there could have been a slight chance where you maybe did not hear the gun or whatever, and you could have false started. And if I false started, that would have disqualified my entire team. So
Wow.
I was like, good thing she told me that after and not before, because otherwise I would be getting too much into my head. Um, but that's such a prime example of why self-advocating is so important because I realized, okay, there's a potential conflict here, but we were able to resolve that conflict once I talked to my coach, and then my coaches talked to the HSA. So I
Yeah.
love sharing that story because I think a lot of people, especially in the deaf and hard of hearing community, sometimes have difficulty with self-advocating for themselves because I don't know, just because we don't necessarily like to ask for help, but asking for help actually benefits you in so many more ways than you can imagine. Um, so
Marnie,
yeah.
you're such an amazing storyteller, and for me, absolutely, when I hear you just recall a memory, one race, one scrimmage, whatever, and give those specific examples of like these very nuanced challenges that are coming up all the time, um, you speak about it with such clarity and such confidence. Has it always been that way for you? Do you feel like you've always just kind of had that inner confidence, to speak up, to speak out, to vocalize what it is you need, or has that been a journey over time?
I would say in general, I'm very much a storyteller. My friends always joke and say I talk a lot with my hands, which I do. And I'm very expressive. I don't know. I love storytelling. I love being able to hear other people's stories. I'm a connector. That's, I would say, is one of my greatest strengths is storytelling, connecting with people. But I guess in terms of my hearing loss and sharing my stories in regards to that, that definitely took a long time. Definitely took a long time to develop my confidence with my hearing loss. I would say in high school, I never really talked about my hearing loss, never really thought about my hearing loss. It wasn't really until college when I started to become more open about it. And then ever since the fall of my senior year, so at Boston College, so the fall of 2022 was really when I started building a platform to advocate for the deaf and hard of hearing community, started building the platform to share stories um, there, and which we can get to later down the line. But
Yeah,
I think all of my experiences and the challenges that led up to the fall of 2022 is what made me want to speak out, was what made me want other people to kind of have a better understanding and awareness for the deaf and hard of hearing community.
that's amazing. And, Dennis, I know you've shared a bit about this in different places and different interviews as we've built out Deaf Athletic, but it really reminds me of you sharing about your light bulb moment for Deaf Athletic, as a big idea, as an offering. Dennis, I don't know if you want to share now, but just those moments you've had of remembering perhaps being startled or just having different encounters where, um, you don't feel as safe and supported as you could. Um, Anything you want to share there, Dennis?
Yeah, without, kind of going into, the whole life story, I think it was a progression of um getting comfortable with, who I was, and over time, really out of necessity, needing to ask for adjustments or support or awareness, at least, and understanding. And um, I think Deaf Athletic is really the kind of the culmination of that maturation of comfort with my identity. Because, you're literally putting the word on your back and getting out there in public, and that's what it's all about. Um, and the idea is to, keep people safe, but it's also about creating awareness and being comfortable with sort of leaning into that identity in a really, sort of public and sort of, big, bright color kind of way. So it's been, I think like Marty, it's been a journey. And who knows, this might not be the last stop. We'll see what happens after this.
I also think the word comfort is such a great point you make, Dennis, because I remember like there were so many times in college where I would be sitting in my dorm room, crying about something or confused about something else. And, there was no one for me to turn to or talk to about these certain situations. And so I think that's why, you share in your story. I'm sure in my story that creates a sense of comfort within the community for people to understand, okay, these feelings are valid, these feelings are okay because other people experience the same things that we experience.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think when Claire discovered you for us, Marnie, and we started, following Here and Out. For me, the first thing was, hey, this person has had experiences very similar to mine. So, um, but at a completely different level. Obviously, I was never anything close to a college athlete, but somewhat similar experiences. And you also were, very open and honest about it. You're sort of leaning into that identity, and doing it in a way that uh, is meant to help others that are deaf and hard of hearing how to navigate certain situations. Maybe they haven't had somebody like you to, sort of give them ideas on, how you get through this or that. But then the other piece is about advocacy and what you're doing, and how what you're doing is helping to create awareness and understanding for people that are deaf and hard of hearing, in particular athletes, but more broadly, just how we move around in the world. So um, it's been fun getting to know you through your social media, and now to have you here in person is pretty awesome.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm so excited that I think that that's the goal is even though yes, I'm sure in my specific experiences as a student athlete and the accommodations or the challenges or whatever I went through in college, I'm glad that it's able to connect to the general because I'm trying I think it doesn't matter what demographic or whatever. I think everyone can connect to those stories in whatever way.
Yeah, and I'd love to talk more about Hear It Out, Marnie, because as Dennis said, it's how we kind of came into your world, and we really fell in love with the way you were telling these stories. And I think the first time I saw you on camera, you were sharing you had had a morning where your implant was just kind of giving you trouble and causing frustration, and it was so real and candid and um, just really kind of turning up the volume on these important ideas and important needs. And I'd love to hear more about what that experience has been like for you, creating this space and this forum to storytell, and then the following you've cultivated. I imagine the connections you make are amazing. Can you share more about all of that?
Well, I always think, vulnerability creates connection. Being vulnerable on the internet is such a scary thing. And I always think back to, the very first time I ever talked about my hearing loss was the one photo I took on Track Media Day where I lifted my hair up to show my cochlear implant, and that was the very first time I talked about my hearing loss or wanted to open up conversations about the deaf and hard of hearing community. And I always laugh because I remember I was sitting in my dorm room looking at this photo, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, do I post this? Do I not post this? I was absolutely terrified because every photo before that, I had my hair down. I didn't say anything about my hearing loss. But as I said before, vulnerability creates connection. And the whole reason why I started that platform was because I didn't have people to look up to who were like me, deaf, wearing cochlear implants, competing at a high level in sports. I spent years and years figuring things out on my own, from advocating for accommodations to handling the little challenges like making sure my implant doesn't fall off whenever I'm racing. And, you know, the whole like there were so many times where I was super confused, heartbroken, or feeling alone. And throughout college, I know there were sports psychologists on campus that I could go to, and there were, our coaches always encourage us to go see a sports psychologist. But in my 18, 19, 20-year-old brain, I always thought, why would I go see a sports psychologist? They're not going to understand what it's like to be in my shoes. They're not going to understand what it's like to have hearing loss. And obviously, that was a toxic mindset to be in, but I just didn't have anyone to connect with, specifically with my hearing loss journey. And so that's why I created the platform, because I don't want any other athletes or anyone else to have that mindset. And, if they're trying to find someone to connect to or something to connect to, my hope is that that hearing out platform will kind of give them the comfort and clarity they need in their hearing loss journey.
It's amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of power in um, connection and knowing you're not alone and you're not alone in your experiences. And that makes me all the more excited for what today represents too, with Deaf Athletic launching and being another source of community and shared understanding, shared purpose.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'm excited for Deaf Athletic because I always get very excited when I meet other, not even just athletes or just people who, are active every day. And
yeah,
so I think Deaf Athletic is such an amazing opportunity for other athletes to connect with one another. And, it's so interesting because for me, I use double-sided tape. That's how I keep my implant on. But then I talked with this mother who has a 6-year-old son who's very active, loves to play basketball, lacrosse, and for some reason, he does not like having his implant behind the ear when he's running and doing activities. So the mom actually made a headband that has like a little pocket. And so the implant will kind of go in the headband. And like that's how he keeps his device nice and secure. So, I think Deaf Athletic is such a great opportunity because, something works for me, but it might not work for someone else. And so it's a space where all of us can share our experiences, tips, and all that.
that's amazing, and it makes me think about some of the values that we created and put on paper for the building of the brand that really I think poured out of you, Dennis. And one of them that I think about a lot is this value of bringing outsiders in and also really honoring Mother Earth. So this idea that everybody is an athlete is the belief, and with the right accessories, the right gear, the right support system, we can inspire more and more people to embrace athletic activities, to join the team, to get out there on a beautiful morning and experience just this wonderful place we all get to inhabit, and how going for the run, going for the bike ride, doing the thing you thought you couldn't do, what that does for the self. And so it's empowering for everyone and just broadens awareness of others that much more. So Really powerful
Exactly.
stuff.
And oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I think there are some parents out there that, are scared. They don't want their child to be in sports because they don't know what's going
Yeah.
to work, what's not going to work. And, a quote my mom always says to me is there's a solution for everything. It seems so simple, but there is a solution for everything. And I think, as you said, like for Deaf Athletic, it's a space where we can share ideas, share accommodations, and all of that because, young athletes anyone can be an athlete. Anyone should be able to have the opportunity to compete or participate in any sport they like.
That's a great point. And I think and I'm learning more about this brand kind of as we go. And one of the things that I've realized is so far, and it's like it's brand new, but the product is one thing, and I think it's definitely serves a useful purpose to help keep the athlete that's wearing the garment safer and also informing other people. And so that's important. I mean, the product has a purpose, but kind of the next level is it also becomes a vehicle for conversation, for creating awareness, for greater understanding, um, uh, that can sort of ripple beyond just you know athletes who are deaf and hard of hearing. And so I feel some responsibility associated with that possibility that if we help to create an environment like that, um, how cool would that be? And so I think about that a lot.
Well, it
Yeah,
feels
I think.
feels like it's happening. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, Dennis, actually, last week I was on a run. I was, working all day, so I couldn't get my run in till right before sunset. And I had like a light armband on me that like flashes, but I remember I think maybe like a minute into my run and my implant beeped. So I was like, crap, it's about to die.
Yeah.
And my phone was dead. So my phone was dead. I couldn't listen to music. My implant beeped. It was about to die. And it was starting to get like pitch black out. So
Oh
I'm
man.
panicking and I'm running so fast because I'm like, I don't want to be running in the pitch black with my phone dead and my implant dead. So that was kind of a prime example of like why I wish I had the Deaf Athletic t-shirt on me because
Wow.
I can't hear anything in the darkness. And, as Dennis mentioned in our other call, we can't hear the car driving up alongside us, and some streets in LA there's no sidewalks, so sometimes I'm running
Sure.
the streets. So uh yeah, that was definitely not a great, not my best run at all.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've been there. Yeah. We can hook you up with a t-shirt.
Perfect.
No, we know a guy. We
Sounds
got
good.
you. That's an extraordinary story, though, and
Yeah,
just
it is. Yeah. It's
one
so real.
small example of many, I'm sure. It's really interesting to hear you just recall those moments where something like a Deaf Athletic T-shirt would make all the difference in the world and make you feel that much safer. It's really interesting. Um, Marty, I feel like we could talk all day long. I can't believe it's already been 30 minutes or so. I'm going to pivot us, and I want to ask you a question. Deaf Athletic is a brand that's all about reaching forward. You do so many interesting things. We'd love to know what's next for you. How are you looking forward? What's the next chapter for Marnie?
I would say a lot. I'm looking to train for the Deaf Olympics in Tokyo in 2025, where I'm aiming to break the world deaf record in 800 meters. And then beyond that, I'm hoping to continue to grow my platform on Here and Out. And also, public speaking is a big focus. I want to share my story with more people, whether that's at schools, companies, or events to share what's possible when we remove barriers. And long term, I see myself continuing to work in social media and creative strategy, helping brands connect with their audiences in meaningful ways because I think, it's not just about the products. For Deaf Athletic, it's not just about the product, it's about the relationships and experiences we create. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited uh moving forward, but at the same time I'm hoping to keep an open mind and excited for new opportunities that rise.
Well, you are a superstar. Thank you so much. This was
Yeah.
incredible. And we'll make sure everybody knows how to find you on Here and Out. And thank you, Marnie.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye,
Thanks, Marty.
everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Claire.
See ya.